So first we'll talk a little bit about what PubSub messaging is, and then we'll talk about more specifically about Cloud PubSub on GCP. And then I'll give you a few resources if you're interested in learning more about this subject. So PubSub messaging is an asynchronous messaging pattern that decouples applications to increase reliability, performance, and scalability. What I really think it's kind of analogous to is sending a tweet. Somebody can send a tweet, will appear in their followers' feeds pretty much instantaneously. That person doesn't have to know anything about their followers, but their followers can read the message and react to it or not. Like that, PubSub messaging sends any message that is sent by a publisher immediately to any subscriptions on that topic. And the subscribing application doesn't need to know anything about the publishing application and vice versa. It does reduce dependencies on these applications because traditionally, if you're doing some kind of an API request, then it requires both applications to always be up at the same time. If you make an API request to another application and that application is down, you're going to get an error. Or even if it's just running slowly, you might get some kind of a timeout. So this allows a subscriber to just pick up messages off of its subscription anytime that it is up and ready to subscribe to the messages, and the topic or the publisher can publish to the topic. And if the publisher goes down, the subscriber just doesn't get messages for a little while. If a subscriber goes down, it can pick up messages when it comes back up. Let's talk a little bit about PubSub Terms. Messages are what we send in PubSub, and a message is just a unit of data. A message has content, or sometimes it's called a payload, and that can be anything from a small string to a giant JSON payload. A message can also have attributes, which is just metadata about that message. Messages get sent to a topic, which is just an intermediate channel that the publisher publishes to. A topic has subscriptions off of it. It can have one or it can have many. Any messages sent to a topic will automatically be sent to every subscription simultaneously. A publisher is just an application that sends messages, and a subscriber is an application that subscribes to a topic via subscriptions to receive messages published by another application. This is a diagram by Google, not me, that shows that PubSub is a many-to-many architecture. So on the left-hand side, we see that we have two publishers, each with their own topic, and there's a single subscription off of each topic. However, subscriber X subscribes to both of those topics. So it could be that we're getting, it's getting multiple data feeds. It could be that it's getting create and update order messages off of one, and then something about order states off of the other. There's lots of reasons why you get multiple subscriptions. On the right-hand side, we see publisher C publishes message 3 to its topic, and it actually has two subscriptions. And message 3 will appear in both subscriptions at the same time, and subscriber Y and Z will both get that message. Google has multiple common use cases for PubSub. There's balancing workloads, implementing asynchronous workflows, distributing event notifications, refreshing distributed caches, logging into multiple systems, data streaming from various processes or devices, or reliability improvement. So let's talk a little bit about Google Cloud PubSub. So Cloud PubSub is global and load balanced, and it's got built-in monitoring. It uses guaranteed at least once delivery and best effort ordering. So what that means is that PubSub will try to send any message that's on a subscription until that message gets acknowledged by the subscriber, and it will try to send it in the same order that it got it off the topic. Messages are persisted in Google Cloud storage until that message gets acknowledged or until it expires, and you can configure how long the message stays in storage until it expires. You can also choose to persist acknowledged messages for some period of time. Use that judiciously, though, because it uses up a whole lot of storage and it can become expensive really fast. Because messages can be redelivered if the message does not get acknowledged, they can come out of order. But you can use forced message ordering. And with that, PubSub will try to deliver an unacknowledged message, but it will then deliver any other message that came after it using an ordering key. Publishing to a topic is pretty simple. You just create a message and send an HTTP request to the PubSub server, and PubSub will publish it to a topic. There are two types of subscriptions that you can use. There's a pull, where your subscriber sends a request to PubSub and PubSub responds with a message. And then the subscriber sends an acknowledgement request once it's processed the message. Any acknowledged message gets removed from the queue. If the message is unacknowledged, then PubSub will send the message again when you send another request. This is good for when throughput is critical and you have a large number of messages. It's also good if you don't have the ability to have a public HTTPS endpoint. The other type of subscription is a push, and that's when PubSub, when it has a message, sends a request via a webhook to the subscriber, and the subscriber just responds with an HTTP response code. If it's a successful code, then the message gets removed from the queue. If it's a non-success code, then PubSub will try to send it again. This is good in environments where Google credentials are not feasible to set up. Also, both publishers and subscribers don't have to be on GCP, so this might be a good time to use push if you have a non-GCP subscriber. Because you might have an instance where you can't process a message. Let's say your subscriber is throwing an exception while it's trying to process a message because the message just isn't formatted the way that it expects it to be. You might not be able to just process the message at all. And PubSub will retry that message because it's not acknowledged. You don't want to get into a situation where you're just trying to retry this message over and over and over. So you can set up a retry policy, which has an initial delay for when the message will be retried. And then you can also set up an exponential retry backoff, which will basically wait longer and longer between each message retry up to some maximum retry delay, because it really doesn't make sense to wait 3 days before you retry the message. Another nice feature is the dead letter queue. If you've got a message that is being unacknowledged multiple times, you can decide if it's not acknowledged after 4 tries, remove it from the subscription and send it to the dead letter queue. So you configure that ahead of time on your subscription, and that allows you to free up your resources so you're not trying to process these things over and over. And then you can process it by some other method, whether or not that's manual or by some application you've got set up to deal with it. So what type of communication is right for your applications? PubSub is asynchronous. It decouples your applications and reduces dependencies on each other. If you can change your architecture so that you don't have to have a response from some of your calls, then PubSub's a really good way to go. The times when you may still need to have an API call are when you have to retrieve data from another service, like if you need to just find out certain information about a user or something like that. You're still going to need an API call in that case. But if usually you would need to have some kind of a successful response after creating some data, you could send a create event on one topic, but then have that same publisher subscribe to a topic from the other application that will let you eventually find out that create event was successful. If you are interested in finding out more about PubSub, you can check out Google's Docs, and they've got lots of good information, and they've got tutorials and code examples, and the code examples are in lots of different languages. You can also create a GCP account and just try playing with it. Here's a little bit of information about me with my contact info, and I am ready to open it up to any questions.
Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing with us Google Cloud Platform and PubSub and architecture decisions there. Does anybody have any questions for Karen at this time? Feel free to post them in the chat, and we're happy to get those questions answered for you all. Anyone? Any questions here? If nobody has any questions at this time, Karen, we do have a question. We have two questions that just came in, actually. Thank you, Michelle, for your first question. Michelle's question for Karen: do you have any recommendation for entry-level jobs?
Let's see. For entry-level jobs for a cloud, I know that different corporations probably have entry-level jobs. But I'm sorry, I don't know of good recommendations for that. There are a lot of jobs, just developer jobs that would probably be a good way to start. For us, we do development as well as we do like microservices on the cloud for in Java and stuff like that. So it might be a good thing to look at different corporations, but I don't know of a lot of entry-level jobs right now. I don't know that they don't exist, but I don't know that I can help you.
Of course. I think one thing I might add there is if you're kind of interested in pivoting into the whole cloud world, a lot of the cloud providers do provide different certifications you can get, like developer level certifications, architecture level certifications, and you can go ahead and kind of work through. It's a lot of coursework, and you can take an exam, and it might provide you that leg up to get that cloud engineering role if that's of interest to you. Thank you, Michelle, for that question. We do have another question here. Can you share an example of PubSub usage in Home Depot web architecture or any popular use cases?
Yeah, so we have microservices that get order information to create orders or update orders. And then it gets all kinds of, we might have it coming from multiple different sources. We reformat those to a single format and then send that back out on another topic so that anybody who needs that order information can consume it and update orders as needed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great use case.
Sorry.
Does anybody else? No worries at all. I suppose just kind of another use case I've even used in different workflows is when you're syncing data, and if the data doesn't need to be there right away, you could use a queue and use that PubSub architecture so that you don't necessarily have to wait for that API response call. Kind of similar to kind of what Karen was sharing there. Does anybody else have any other questions at this time? Great. Well, if there are no further questions, feel free to reach out to Karen directly with her contact information there. Other than that, thank you so much, Karen, for being here with us today and sharing your knowledge about the Google Cloud Platform. And attendees, thank you as well for joining us today at our Connect conference. I can now direct you to the main stage. There will be closing remarks in just a few moments to close out our conference here today. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, everybody else.
Thanks.